Okay. I'm comfy. I'm dressed for the occasion, sort of. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Matriarch Astrology. If you haven't already noticed, I'm kicking off the month of February with some wonderful relationship type synastry for the Valentine's Day vibes. Now, I think we've all met someone where the energy or the vibes just weren't quite clicking. So there might have been some chemistry in the beginning, but then you start noticing some red flags. And that, my friends, is synastry, showing you where the tension is. Today, we are looking at real deal challenging aspects in synastry. And I'll tell you right now, it's not just about Venus squares. But before we dive in, I just want to say that these are not the only red flag type of aspects, but these are my top 3 red flags. But of course, you always want to look at the entire synastry chart. Do not just go by this and dump someone. Please make sure that you look at the entire chart. And if you need to book a reading with an astrologer, I will have the link down below if you would like to get a reading from me. So just keep that in mind going forward with this video. Now, most synastry videos are going to throw a lot of aspects at you, but I'm going to take a Hellenistic approach and strip it down to the things that really matter. And that's going to be the 7th house and its ruler. Now, I have already created a video on the ruler of the 7th house and relationships or marriage. So if you haven't seen that video, go on ahead and check it out here. But overall, the 7th house ruler is your relationship story, and that is in your chart. So that 7th house ruler is going to tell you a lot more about how you experience relationships more than any synastry aspect can. So make sure that you watch that video because it's very important to first know about your own 7th house ruler. Now, another thing that's going to be very important to keep in mind would be the sect of your chart and your partner's chart. And the sect, to make it very easy to understand and quick, would be if the sun is placed above the horizon, that would be a day chart. And if the sun is placed beneath the horizon, that would be considered a night chart. So let's say, for example, your partner is a day chart person and you are a night chart person, you're going to experience the planets a little bit more differently. And that is because our malefics and benefics are going to be different. Now, this is not a sect video, although I can and probably most likely will make one on that in the future. So a Saturn square is going to hit harder for a night chart, and a Mars square is going to hit harder for a person with a day chart. Another thing you want to keep in mind is if the ruler of your 7th house or Venus is in detriment or fall. So if Venus is in bad shape in your own chart, let's say in the sign of Virgo or Aries, it may be even more harder to deal with any type of squares when it comes to synastry. But good helping aspects may help. I'm not going to say that it's going to completely fix what's already in your birth chart, but it can be definitely beneficial, especially if you receive trines or sextiles from Venus or Jupiter in synastry. So red flag number 1 is if one person's malefic planet falls into the other person's 1st or 7th house. This can possibly make you feel criticized, restricted, or undervalued, especially if you have a night chart where Saturn can be a lot harder to deal with. Now keep in mind the sign that the malefics are in. Your Saturn is still going to be Saturn, representing boundaries, restrictions, and sometimes distance. But if Saturn is in Capricorn, its own home sign, or if it is exalted in the sign of Libra, Saturn's going to be knowing what it's doing. In other words, he's got this, even in a night chart. So this placement can be more about structure and wisdom rather than restriction or a sense of burden. Because remember, Saturn is our mentor. Now, if their malefic, let's say, is Mars and it lands in your 7th house, then the relationship could feel a little bit argumentative or competitive, or in some extreme cases also volatile. So just keep that in mind. I'm not saying that that for sure is going to be the outcome, but it is something to keep in mind. Now, this is a red flag if you naturally are someone that prefers peace and harmony in the relationship, which pretty sure we all want that. But especially if you have strong Venus or strong moon, you're really going to want that and really make that a top priority in relationships. Now, a great tip for this type of example where the malefic of the partner falls in the 1st or 7th would be to first look at your own chart. And if you already struggle with Mars or Saturn, meaning if you have squares or oppositions, or if Mars or Saturn are not in a good sign or placement, then this could be a little bit more of a struggle or challenge for you. as opposed to someone who strives under structure or directness. Red flag number 2 would be the moon and Venus in synastry in hard aspect with one another. Moon is our emotional security, while Venus is our relational harmony. So when these two are in hard aspects, such as oppositions or squares in synastry, then one person's emotional needs, such as the moon, might be completely different from what the other person considers love, Venus. So one example would be that you have a moon in Cancer. You're all about coziness, comfort, and nurturing. And let's say you have a partner that has a Venus in Aries that's all about independence and excitement and action. You want coziness, yet they might want space or newness. Over time, this could create a sense of resentment within the relationship. Now, here's a tip, because I'm not saying that this is a deal breaker, but you're probably both most likely going to have to actively understand how the other person receives love versus what they emotionally need in order to feel safe. So the last little red flag that I'm going to wave is going to be having Mercury afflicted, especially by Saturn or Neptune. And I'm already finishing this, so might as well just put it down and we'll finish it. Mercury is so important because Mercury is how we communicate. And I know we've all heard it, and if you haven't, I'll let you know, communication is vital and key in a relationship. So if Mercury is getting wrecked in synastry, then good luck trying to keep that relationship strong and long lasting. So with hard aspects involving Saturn, one person can be openly talking freely while the other person may hold back. Now, having one of these aspects in synastry doesn't mean that the relationship is doomed, but it just means that you're going to have to really pay attention and focus on where the pressure points are. So with this, the biggest thing to remember is that communication styles are different, not wrong. So with this, the Mercury person may feel restricted or criticized in some type of way. And then the Saturn person may feel like they always have to be the responsible one in the conversations. So the key here is going to be patience. Learning how to create a space where Mercury feels safe to express themselves and Saturn feels respected in their wisdom. Now, here are some wrap-up takeaways to keep in mind. Your own chart comes first. So if you already struggle with boundaries, then hard Saturn aspects is going to make it feel way worse. However, challenging synastry isn't the main problem. It's how you're handling it. So if both people are mature and self-aware, even tough aspects can be worked through. And last, pay attention to how you feel over time. Some red flags don't show up immediately, but after months or even years, they may start to weigh you down. So what is the biggest red flag that you've seen in your synastry? Drop it in the comments down below. I would love to know. And if you want more astrology breakdowns like this one, please hit the like button and subscribe. I've got a lot more content like this coming your way. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.